For the last 6 months, every time Bitcoin's come into overbought territory on the daily RSI, it has done nearly the same thing. As of the last week, we've just recently done that again, so what does that spell for Bitcoin's price over the next few days? As we talked about yesterday, the SPX had to hold this 21 weekly moving average, and actually that's exactly where it's getting its bounce so far. The DJI as well getting a critical bounce at basically a 3-year support level that was previous resistance. What does it mean for Bitcoin? Goodness gracious, and Bitcoin is less than 3% from breaking the only important high on this chart besides the all-time high of 20,000 US dollars. Let's do this. What's going on, you absolute savages? We have some charts to be jumping into today for Bitcoin, as in fact on some of these very crucial charts we're getting a bounce, and as well Bitcoin is actually trying desperately to pump up as well, guys. Bitcoin is getting dragged down by these stocks in my opinion. However, it is extremely ready to absolutely shatter 14,000 US dollars, but will that be happening in the short term? We're going to show you this extremely interesting correlation that we've seen on Bitcoin's chart many times over the last 6 months, guys. It's a very similar pattern, and it usually happens after Bitcoin breaks, roughly 10% to the upside, which we've done numerous times since this crash back in March. In fact, most of the momentum has been strictly to the upside on these macro charts, guys. Huge. Wow. So if you guys are new to the channel, make sure to subscribe, turn on post notifications, and hit that bell so you get notified in these urgent critical moon mission updates as soon as we upload. And as well, if you're interested in winning these Schledgersodes, make sure as always to leave your comment below and subscribe, or equivalent in BTC or access to T4. Unbelievable. So we have a trio, some 3 very interesting candles right here. Yesterday, we had basically a bar down after having a very nice pump to the upside, and now today it looks as though we're actually trying to reverse back and actually approach that $13,800 mark yet again, guys. But again, we have to be extremely careful. I only have a few days left that I can keep saying this, but this week is insanely volatile in my opinion, guys. Elections coming up, and what does that mean? It means we have an election coming up. We do not know who the winner is. Regardless of who wins, what does that mean though? It means we're uncertain. I personally think whoever gets elected, Bitcoin is still going up. However, the nervousness, the anxiety, the palpable anxiety, and the uncertainty of these markets is what is going to lead this volatility, in my opinion. And until we actually have these elections, until we have a clear winner, then again, that uncertainty will remain. And guys, this blue line represents the high of about the last 2 days, but also exactly the last high on this chart that if we break, again, we're going to be approaching all-time highs for Bitcoin and setting new all-time highs, in my opinion, shortly after. But what I want to get into on this chart as well is this. So every single time that we've entered this overbought territory on the RSI down here on this daily chart in the last 6 months, okay, because this has only happened a few times. Actually, this is the 3rd time that's happened since the crash in March. With that crash actually brought us incredibly oversold down to about 15, but we've had 3 levels on this RSI go above 70 to indicate overbought on the daily RSI since the crash in March, right? And so every single time, actually, something very similar has happened on these charts, and it correlates with these 3 levels of RSI. So all 3 attempts, if we go back to April, the end of April, we had about a 10% pump. And basically what we did was we pumped, we consolidated a little bit, and then went up again. We pumped again, and then we had a pretty big dump. Ultimately, though, this was sideways consolidation before yet another very big 10% pump. Kind of the same thing where we trade sideways for a large amount of time. Here, though, we had a more delayed drop. We trended up, but also kind of sideways, and ultimately ended up breaking that as well over 10%. And currently we're seeing this same type of thing play out where we had that initial pump, and then we had yet another pump. But ultimately, the main thing that I think is going to play out here is that sideways trading is going to be very prominent. However, the reason this time is so important is because now, if we get one more little pump, as we indicated here on this chart, right, with just this, 3% from breaking basically every single previous lower high on the chart. When we get another pump, if we get another pump, then this will be the first time that the only thing in our way is previous all-time highs of 20,000 US dollars. And if we just take a zoom out, really ever since March, it has been a very clear trend. It has been an uptrend, right? There has been consolidation and dumps along the entire way, as expected, right? We had a pretty big dump here, a pretty decent dump here as well, but for the most part, and multiple dumps actually along the way here. But guys, for the most part, this has been a very clearly defined uptrend. Okay, and we're still in an uptrend. I think there are 2 very real possibilities, and I think it heavily depends on what happens over the next few days and how explosive Bitcoin can be. For one, as we talked about yesterday, I think the 12.5 and 11.7-ish at the very lowest here is a pretty normal and pretty solid level of support if Bitcoin does continue this exact pattern where we get a pump and then some dumps and some sideways trading before another massive pump, right? We saw that back here in the summer, and then we saw, kind of at the end of the summer here, dump, but then continuously up. Ultimately, I think this would be a pretty good pullback area if we get one, but guys, I'm not so sure we will because, again, this market is extremely bullish. It heavily depends on the stocks right now, which, as we talked about yesterday, they found support on the 21-week so far. Okay, this is on the weekly. Don't have any true 100% confirmations just yet, but so far we're at least bouncing here. But again, I do expect that over time we could actually see this continue to fall through, even go down to about the 200-day moving average, which is actually pretty far lower here on the SPX. But ultimately, if we zoom out, you can see why this level is so critical, guys, because this is the first time, this is basically, give or take a few $100s, this is literally the highest that we've been since January of 2018, which is literally 3 years ago. Okay, as soon as we take out this previous high, this last lower high on the chart, as soon as we take that out, we really are in a position to initiate kind of a blue sky breakout, right? We have no previous resistance to really look at aside from that blow off top at 20K. But other than that, guys, we're seeing something extremely similar repeat here. And even though I do think it's possible that we're going to be spending some time trading sideways, just like we did back these other 2 times over the last 6 months. One thing you notice as well is that these have gotten a little smaller each time, the time and the volatility. And this bad boy really wants to lift off. In fact, as I'm recording this, it's still approaching that level, guys. And we can't forget about the fact that in only 2 days, we're going to actually get a monthly close. And as you can see, guys, this is the highest that we've been on this monthly chart. If we got to close anywhere above even $12,000, this is the highest that we've been on this monthly chart since January of 2018. So again, the last 3 years. So it's absolutely ridiculous to not be bullish at this point. And as well, guys, the entire cryptocurrency market cap, every single cryptocurrency, as you can see, this pattern, in my opinion, is absolutely ready to burst. We are still testing the very top of this, but you can't expect this to just blow up willy-nilly, right? This is probably the most important level we've been in the last 3 years. So again, there's going to be a massive amount of volume and a massive amount of price action to the upside when we concretely break this $400 billion level, which, as I'm recording right now, we're about $3 billion below the $4 billion level. Wow, so if you guys are new to the channel, as always, make sure to subscribe and turn on those post notifications. If we can hit 1,000 likes in this video, we do the giveaways. Okay, we got really close yesterday, but the goal is 1,000 likeronis. And as well, guys, anybody interested in trading, if you have experience trading only, and if you also want to support the channel, when you deposit Bitcoin using the link below, you can get up to an additional $390 for trading on Bybit.